Today, I'm honored to welcome a special guest that has a story that can inspire us all. Welcome, Bridget.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Um, to get started, just say a little bit about yourself and what season are you in your life?
Hmm. So, thank you again, Larry. I appreciate the invitation to join you for this interview. As I shared before we started, uh, there's a lot about my background that people don't know, and I've finally gotten to a season where I am encouraged and more comfortable with sharing that background. And a lot of that has to do with the work that I do now in my second career. So, a little bit about myself. I am not originally from Iowa. I'm actually originally from a smaller city in Illinois, Decatur, Illinois. It is a agriculture and manufacturing community.
Mm,
My mother worked and well, I was born there. My mother raised me there, and she worked for a large agriculture firm back in the day. And so there was a lot of exposure around that. Truly grew up in what I would call a community environment, a neighborhood like environment. My mother and my grandmother both had extensive networks in different capacities. My mother was very much a community activist and
mm,
advocate. She was especially an advocate for youth, and I think that's where I gained my love and affinity for serving youth and being able to be the voice and always making sure I see them
mm.
as well as hear them. And so it's kind of my life has kind of come full circle now that I'm leading Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Iowa. But graduated from high school in Decatur and went on to attend Illinois State University in Bloomington or in Normal, Illinois,
Mm,
just right there next to Bloomington, Illinois.
mm,
And then that's where I met my husband, and we have been together for 30, well, we've been together a lot longer than that, but we've been married for 31 years and actually been together for almost 35.
Is
And
this guy?
so
Is this the guy I met at the restaurant?
this is the
That,
man that you met at the restaurant. That was my
I hope
husband.
so.
Yes, yes, that was my husband.
All right, all right.
So sometimes people are just like, is that your son? No, he's older than I am. I make sure I let people know that. But anyway, we moved here well, he's originally from the Quad Cities, so we left college. He's a year older than I am, so I followed suit with our first child
Mm,
in 92, moved to the Quad Cities, and then in 1994 we moved here because he was recruited by one of the larger employers who was recruiting diverse talent at the time. Truly was the pioneer in recruiting and bringing in diverse talent from different ethnicities, different races, different cultures into the Des Moines area.
mm.
And we've been here ever since.
Wow. What? How would you describe this chapter in your life?
This chapter in my life is I'm getting too close to retirement. My husband is already semi-retired, so um, I am living out my purpose each and every day in the work that I do here at Big Brothers Big Sisters. And I say that because it truly was a conversation with God to help guide me, direct me before I took this role. Shortly before I took this role, I was working in the insurance industry, had been
Right.
in the insurance industry for almost 30 years, and decided, okay, this is where I'm going to retire. This is the where I've probably gone as far as I can go from a leadership standpoint. And I was okay with that because I was finding other ways to fill my bucket. When you just have that, there's just something missing. You can't really feel it, understand it, put a word on it, can't put your finger on it. And so sitting in my office at home one day, and this was post COVID, like immediately post COVID.
Okay.
Um, and just, sat there and prayed and said, ask God three questions. One, am I serving in the way and in the capacity that you want me to? Number two, am I serving where you want me to? And third was, am I serving who you want me to?
Mm.
And within a couple of weeks, I had a phone call out of the blue, random. I say random, but of course, we all know that it was planned.
Amen.
And asking me, hey, how you liking your job right now? And one thing led to another, and I applied for the position and interviewed for it, and the rest is history.
Man.
But
Okay.
yes, I am living in my purpose. I'm living in my purpose and serving in my passion every single day.
Man. Um, like I was telling you before, there's a couple of paths we could have taken today. I was reflecting on this past weekend, and I said I see the we all see, not just me. I'm pretty sure me and other people see a very chiseled imagery. We see a woman who has earned her accolades and is getting her flowers, and yeah, I could see you walking in your flowers. I could see that element in the photos I see on LinkedIn. I said, "Oh man, she's put together. She's happy. She's got it going on."
Mm-hmm.
I wonder who the young lady is behind that imagery.
Mm.
So I'm going to ask you a series of questions today, maybe to give us a little bit of insight what's behind the pictures.
Sure.
To start out, we're going to go chronologically a little bit and see how fast we get through this.
Okay.
I want to get an idea of the highs and lows and important relationships at certain landmarks within your timeline. The easiest one would be scholastic, through specific school years. So I'm going to go through elementary, middle school, and high school. See how
Okay.
fast we get. So let's just start at elementary. What were the highs and lows and significant relationships in that season?
Whew. So for me, so elementary school, I actually went to a magnet school, and back then it was magnet school, laboratory school. So very focused on math and science.
Okay.
And I was part of a lottery system, and I'm trying to remember the story that my mother told me. Part of a lottery system, selected to attend that school because I was, um, my mother didn't have a lot of money. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, found out as an adult that when became an adult, I found out we were basically living under the poverty line
Mm.
for many years, many
Mm.
of my early years. But my mother was extremely resourceful. And so this opportunity came around for me to get into a school that really pushed subjects that were not highly sought after or highly pushed in the Black community, even within the community of Decatur, Illinois. And
Okay.
so,
Hold on one
uh,
second. Just for 2 seconds, let me interrupt. I just want to get clarity. When you say magnet school, is that the same thing as like a STEM school, essentially?
kind of, sort of, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So again, we called it a laboratory. We called it a laboratory school, and it was very
Oh,
focused on. It wasn't necessarily focused on the technology and the engineering because we hadn't made those advances back in the 70s, right, early 70s when I was in elementary school. But there was a heavy focus on science and mathematics.
okay. Yeah.
So yes. So anyway, the one of the high points of going to that school was um, the fact that that's when I discovered my love for math, and it was something I could do well.
Mhm.
And as a young Black girl, that was a hard thing to figure out. Is especially in a single parent household. what are you really good at? You just do the things that you do, right?
Mhm.
In order to make sure that you can survive, you can navigate, and eventually get to thriving. And that was always my goal. And that was my mother's goal, is she always wanted me to thrive. And so
Mhm.
um, the high point was I loved our math teacher, Mrs. Sumter, Mrs. Sumter. Loved her to death because she taught math in a way that made sense, but it was also fun. And she was always, always encouraging. And she was probably one of the first people in my life outside of my mother, my family, and some of my mentors. She was the really the first teacher, first influential professional that recognized me, recognized my talents and saw me and would encourage me and push me with positive reinforcement and motivation. Um, so huge influence there. And because math, I connected math with um, a sense of joy because of the recognition and just the praise and the accomplishments. That's what really locked in my love for math. Science was but math was really my love. And so low point was being small, tiny. So I was short, I was petite, I
Mhm.
was light skinned. People
Mhm.
automatically assumed that I was biracial. Nothing wrong with being biracial,
Mhm.
but when you're constantly asked, "Oh, you're mixed, aren't you? Because you have long hair." Um, I'm like, no, as far as I know, both my parents are black, and I really didn't understand it very much back then. But that, the colorism started early,
Mhm.
and it started from both sides, both from the other black students that went to the school because they too, unless their parents had the money to send them to the school, they too were there on kind of a lottery system, lottery pick. And
Mhm.
so, and then for the white students, they were just like, sometimes it would be, why are you here? I mean, I had my first experience of racism with a little blonde haired, blue eyed white girl. And I was like, that was the first time not knowing the label to put on it or what to call it, but I just know
Mhm.
it didn't make me feel good.
Mhm. Um, on both ends of the spectrum, was you know how does that impact a person over time? Let me just like zoom in on that.
Yeah. It makes you
Uh,
feel it makes you guarded.
mhm.
It makes you distrustful.
Mhm.
It makes you feel inadequate and question your worth.
Mhm.
And I did all those things. I was extremely insecure growing up. But instead of letting that be something that crushed me, I turned it around. I used it as motivation because I didn't like that feeling. And so I was constantly determined to not let anyone make me feel that way. So looking on from the outside looking in, people would think, oh, she's super outgoing. I was shy as heck. I was extremely shy, but I knew I didn't like feeling bad and I didn't like my feelings being hurt. And
Mhm.
so I would do what was necessary to make sure nobody could hurt me
Mhm.
and became very guarded.
Okay. Mhm. I got a picture in the back of my head with one word associated with one word with a question associated with it, but I'm afraid to ask it just yet.
Go ahead.
So I'm gonna no, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep
Okay.
going.
Okay.
And then if it stands out a little bit more vividly, then I'll ask it if it's important.
Okay.
Um, what would you talk about you talk about one of the important relationships being your teacher. Were there any other significant relationships during that time frame? I mean, elementary, and you're already going to STEM school. I mean, it's like man, it's like going to AP. It's like your mom put you straight to AP class.
Pretty
Pretty
much.
much.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Um, the other influential part would have been my neighborhood because that was the support system. My mother and my grandmother My grandmother's friends, my mother's friends. That was my network of,
Mhm.
that was really my network of people. I didn't really have close best friends until probably maybe third grade, I
Okay.
think. At least that I can remember. I have photos from long-term friends. In fact, I can say that there is one person in my life that I have been friends with since age 3 because we went to nursery school together.
Mm.
And he is the godfather of all 3 of my sons
Nice. Nice.
today. In fact, I'll see him in a couple of weeks.
Oh,
So,
good stuff. Well, let's shift here. And you answered that very, very well.
okay.
Um, let's shift to middle school. What are the
Okay.
highs and lows in middle school?
So highs and lows of middle school pretty much kind of carried forward. I wasn't the most popular. I was still trying to really, that's when I started trying to figure out who I am, where do I fit in, still continuing on that math path. But this was probably the first time that I really saw my mother step in and stand up for me in the education system,
Mm,
and got to see it firsthand. And it had to do with the standardized testing.
mm,
And so I had gotten a low score on a test, on one of the standardized tests, and they wanted to put me in basic math. And my mother's like, no, there's no way. I know how strong Bridget's math skills are. Why
mm,
don't you retest her? And I think it had to do something about the timing. Like either I took too long and didn't answer enough questions, and it was because I didn't know them. It was because I was sitting there doing the calculations. And so, but I wasn't going fast enough because I didn't understand the concept of it being a timed test. And so, long story short, with that retest, they realized exactly how strong my math skills were. And I got bumped up to pre algebra, which is where I should have been in 7th grade, but ended up getting in there in 8th grade.
mm. I hear your mother just lingering in the background is this strong figure. You
Oh, yeah.
identify as an
Oh,
activist.
yeah. She was the epitome of Black mama for sure.
Okay, okay.
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
she's positioning you for excellence.
Absolutely.
Um, is there pressure?
Oh, God, all the time.
In that at that age though, if you
Oh,
talk about
all the time.
elementary,
All the
middle,
time. There was a certain expectation she had of me in making sure I showed up right. And I
mhm,
think you know what I mean by that. You
yeah,
know, I'm mannerable.
mhm,
I am kind. I am approachable, but I'm also strong. I
mhm,
don't let anybody, take advantage of me. Um, I don't show weakness, those types of things,
yeah,
those types of characteristics. And so, but, she was constantly pushing me. She was super tough on me, which, in some cases made me be tough on myself,
right,
um, tougher than I maybe needed to be. But her
mhm,
voice was always lingering in the background of, okay, did you do your best? Or you could have done that better,
yeah,
or
mhm,
things like that. But she had to be, because she had to be both mother and father, right? She needed to give me that strength. And then what she also did was she put women in my life,
mhm,
especially my grandmother, but she put women in my life who could show me how to develop those soft skills, and that it was okay to have those soft skills. So they were kind of the nurturers, while you know, she was the driver.
what is it only leaves me to ask a side question. What was the background of grandmother? Is this generational type of, certain type of disposition, that generational as far as presentation, disposition, how you present yourself? Um,
Yes, most definitely. That was
yeah,
100% my grandmother, not my mother. My mother had gotten to a point in her life where she's like, "Look, Imma show up how Imma show up, and you can like it or not like it. I don't care." But
mhm,
my grandmother was very much of the age of, like, when you go to church, you're coming to church in a dress,
mhm,
nice shoes, you
mhm,
look at your hair is done, you go out in public anywhere with her, You had to make sure you looked presentable. You had to make sure that you minded your manners.
Mm,
Um, it was all of those etiquette. Oh, use the proper etiquette.
mm,
Absolutely. That was her. That was very much her demeanor, her expectation, because she was showing up that way. And my grandmother, income wise, had the lowest income of all of us.
mm,
She worked in a factory
mm,
while my mother worked in a business office in a corporate setting.
mm,
And it was, but you'd think the roles were reversed.
mm,
My grandmother didn't have much education. My mother had almost a college degree because she had me when she was in her, I think, junior year of college. And
okay.
so she had to leave early, but the way they showed up and their philosophies on how you show up was very different.
Okay. Who do you think influenced you more, your mother or your grandmother?
Equally both.
You give them time.
Equally
All
both.
right.
Because, and the reason why I say that is because my mother told me that, Bridget, your grandmother was tough on me, which is why I'm tough on you.
Mm,
You bring out her softer side. You allow her to be softer
mm,
and show you that softness because she doesn't have to raise you. She has to help. She's there to help develop you.
right. It reminds me of it reminds me of that Bill Cosby episode. You remember when the grandfather was chiding Bill Cosby on being
Hmm.
tough on Theo?
Hmm. Hmm. Yep, that's exactly. But that's how it is, right? That's how it is. And so the two of them, that's why I say equally, because they equally influence me. And then the third person who was influencing me in my formative years was my aunt. My aunt was kind of the free spirit. She was the
Mm,
one who graduated from high school when she was 16 years old, left and moved out of town and moved out of the house and went off and explored life and all of that. And to me, I mean, she was probably one of my idols because
mm,
she gave me the best of both worlds, but then she
mm.
also instilled it in me. It's okay to be who you are, and you need to figure out who you are and be comfortable and confident in that. And so she instilled a level of confidence in me, that neither my mother or my grandmother could.
Beautiful grooming,
Oh
beautiful
yeah.
support.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
a wonderful picture. Um, Now I'm going to ask the question that I wanted to ask before because
Okay.
I think I think you already answered it sort of. Was it the pressure to become an overachiever?
Say the question one more time.
People pleaser, overachiever. Those are the two words that stood out to
Mhm.
me with
Mhm.
regards to that lingering thought of always self-criticism
Mhm.
that comes it becomes your parent it's the parent's voice and then your parent's voice becomes your voice.
Mhm.
If it's repeated.
Yeah. It's I think that formed, so the people pleasing formed because I always wanted my mother's number one, I wanted my mother to be proud of me. Number
Mhm.
two, I wanted her praise. I wanted her approval. I knew I had it with my grandmother and I knew I had it with my aunt, but my mother was always the one who I was seeking that approval for or from. And so
Let me
it's,
ask you a question. Let me pause into that. Did you
yeah.
get it?
Did I what?
Do you feel like you got it? That approval?
As an adult, as an adult,
Yes.
I
I
got it
know.
as an adult. I got it,
Yes.
and I would get little snippets here and there growing up, especially if I did something beyond what she expected of me.
Above. Yeah. There's that
That's
overachieving.
the above and beyond. If I did
Right.
something that she didn't expect, she had not put on me, but I took the initiative to do myself, that's when I would get the praise or good job or I'm proud of you. But she didn't really it I was in my third, no, actually, I think I was probably in my 40s before we
Mm.
ever had she actually went in depth, and it wasn't just you did good or a good job. It was, Bridget, I'm so proud of you. And I was like, oh, I've waited my entire life to hear that. Thank you.
I was gonna say,
You
how
know?
did that make you feel? Was that like a,
Oh my
was
God.
that
It's
like,
like, finally, and you got to understand too. And I love my mother. My mother passed away, and she passed away 6 years ago.
mm,
And so it's been over these last 6 years that I have really uh, run through my mind, gone and, just thinking back, thinking
mhm,
about the memories and thinking about, just times in my life. And I'm like, dadgummit, that's what she was trying to tell me. Or, man, if I had only, been listening
yeah,
instead of letting my feelings that I hadn't pleased her, or my feelings that I had not accomplished what she, had hoped I would accomplish. Um, if I had just, if those feelings had not been a distraction, I truly would have seen how much my mother loved me
mm,
earlier, earlier than
um,
what I did, earlier than
did,
what I
yeah, did it feel emotionless earlier in your childhood? Like you got to get these
did.
things done,
Hmm.
more
Hmm. Hmm.
rigidness than nurturing, and maybe you got the nurturing from your auntie and your
I
grandmother.
got the nurturing from my, honestly, I got the nurturing from both my grandmother and my aunt
Uh,
firsthand. And
right,
then also like my yayas, the women that my mother had put in my life to, help me see things from her perspective,
yeah,
but then also instilled in me that, Bridget, you're doing the right things. You're a good person. You're not a bad person. Stop, and because they would see me beat myself up,
yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And so,
Well, your mother was wise beyond her years. She was
oh
just
yeah,
able
oh
to
yeah,
put the resources that can help balance even her out. I don't know whether she
yes,
thought about that,
yes,
in the whole, in the bigger scheme of things. I don't know what she said. Man, let me give her this here because maybe she can't handle me all the time. I say that about my kids. I'm like, let me get
yes,
them from other
yep.
people because
I
you
do
probably
as
can't
well.
handle me all the time.
I do as well. I'm like, there's things that I know my kids are not going to listen to me about. And mind you, I raised three men.
Oh my goodness, that's a whole nother
So
topic, right? Good
that's a whole
gracious,
nother topic for
yeah,
another time. But I raised three men, and raising those three men who have three very distinct, different personalities.
yeah,
Um, and raising them with another person, not with me, just me being able to call the shots the whole time. It's me and
right,
my husband balancing out the child rearing. But anyway, I realized through my experiences that I needed that village.
hmm,
And I realized with them, they needed that village,
yeah,
because I'm one viewpoint, but there's several other viewpoints out there in the world, and I want them to be as prepared as possible
right,
with multiple viewpoints. Now, our values, I'm hoping that they adopted our values, but just being able to see different ways of doing things, different ways of thinking about things, different ways of looking at things,
mhm,
different ways of approaching things, different ways of getting things done. My way is not always perfect. My
right,
husband's way is not always perfect,
right,
but there are other people out there that can be able to give them additional insights or feedback where they individually can come up with their own perfect approach for them.
right, yeah. That is the whole topic. I know we veered off into um there's some other, but this is good. This is so good. This is There's so much richness to a person's story, and definitely to yours. But I just couldn't help but hone in on this female tribe of
Oh
women
yeah.
just developing. It's just a wonderful thing to sort of like listen in the backdrop of,
Yes.
and grooming you for this, for where you are today.
And
Um,
I've only talked about one side of my family. On my father's side of the family, very, very strong. It was very different because it was two-parent households from my grandparents to my father to um, my aunts and uncles and all of that. So it was two very different familial systems that I was exposed to growing up.
yeah. Now we didn't talk about your father's role as much.
Mhm.
Were your parents separated or together?
They were apart. So yeah, my mother and my father were never married, and my
Okay.
mother was the person who raised me.
Okay. That's a whole nother. I see part one,
There's a
part
lot
two.
to there's a lot to me. You keep
You
peeling
probably
back
got a
the onion. There's more. Yes.
this is such. It started out like such a good book. So I'm hoping you write something in the background there one of these days,
Yeah,
especially that first
one
part.
of my sons has been trying to get, well, actually, two of them have been trying to get me to do that. So I got to slow down enough to be able to sit down and write it. But,
Yeah.
one thing that I do want to bring forward, though, is the reason I said that I'm living in my purpose and I'm serving in my passion is because a lot of the young people, especially the children and even the teenagers and young adults that we serve here at Big Brothers and Big Sisters, I can identify with directly because I was them.
Yeah. 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 Um, I we are. I don't know how far you want to take this conversation.
Okay.
We're at part one of this.
Okay.
Um, I almost want to put a pause on it a little bit.
Well, let's talk about high school and then how about we pause after high school?
Okay, you got enough time.
I got enough time.
Okay. Then let's shift. Um, Highs and lows in high school and
Okay.
significant relationships.
Yeah. So, as far as the most significant relationships, the ones that I told you about, my mother, my grandmother, my aunt, and my yayas, that
Yeah.
was all through high school.
Okay.
That was all through high school. They were consistent figures in my life. They were truly my my conscience, right?
Okay.
High school was, I'll be honest, I hated high school, even though even though that's when I was my most popular. I was pretty much that floater. I didn't affiliate with one group over another.
Okay.
And here's what I mean by that. So I was a cheerleader.
Okay.
So I was part of the cheerleading community or part of the sports community. I was um, I was a decent student. I was like BC student. So I'm not National Honor Society material, definitely not.
Okay.
Um, but I'm smart and I surrounded myself with very intelligent people to help me learn and to help me develop in my academics. Um,
Is that friendship circle or you talk about extended mentorship circle?
these are friendship circles.
Was that intentional? That's very much a high level of maturity that most people don't reach until like after high school.
So it was unintentional. It was intentional with the respect that honestly that smart group, they were considered, they weren't the most popular,
Mhm.
kind of considered a little bit on the outcast side,
Mhm.
but I all I my one way that one lesson that and one character trait and value that my mother always instilled in me is that you don't judge people based on what you see. You base your relationship with them and how you treat them based on how they treat you. If they treat you with respect and humanity, you are absolutely expected to treat them with respect and humility or humanity. And
Mhm.
so that group of people, I saw their character
Okay.
of who they are. They were welcoming, they were supportive. I didn't care if they were popular or not because I didn't consider myself to be part of the popular crowd.
Okay.
Um, and they were And the support that they gave me was they were probably some of my biggest encouragers when it came to my academics or any of my achievements. And so those those were the folks that I probably gravitated to more because I felt they were more grounded,
Okay.
and I felt like they saw me and accepted me for me.
Okay. I hear two different expressions, character and intelligence.
Yeah. Okay.
Which one is more important to you?
Character.
You said that almost like it's common sense. No?
Yeah. Because I mean, the intelligence is something that you can intelligence is for me is something you can acquire. Your character is something that you choose to develop and adopt and display and drives your behavior.
Yeah. Okay.
Your intelligence does not.
Okay. Um, when I listen to your story, I see a young girl listening. I can hear my daughter listening to this interview, and looking a little bit in admiration at a little bit of your narrative. Um, so, as far as final commentary,
Mhm.
would you speak to that young lady who is listening to this, who might be listening to this? What advice would you give them?
To thine own self be true. And what I mean by that is take the time to really self-reflect as to who you are, who you think you are, and who you want to be and why you want to be that. Because you got to every human being has to decide either I'm going to take the good path or I'm going to take the bad path, right? We as humans, we have one foot in each, and we make a choice as to which direction we're going to go. And for me, understanding and knowing who I am took a long time for me to develop. And I coach young teens, I coach young adults on this a lot is you have to decide who you are.
Mhm.
And yes, people's perception of you is going to be determined off of your behavior and how you treat them, how you act and how you treat them.
Yeah.
But you have to be true to who you are. You have to be true to who you are. So take the time to understand who you are because that's where your source of confidence comes from. And even from a spiritual sense, that's you got to know who God created you to be.
Yeah.
And that was where my deep reflection came from, was understanding who God created me to be. And then once I understood that, stop fighting against it, but accept it, adopt it, absorb it, receive it, and be powerful in it because that's where your true source of power comes from.
Yeah. Good
So
stuff. How can people stay connected to you or support your work?
let's start with support our work. So staying informed, going out to our website. So that's BBBSIA.org. Go out to our website because we're doing a lot in the community. We're doing a lot of things for the members of our village. So that includes our littles, our bigs, the families we serve, our donors, our partners, it's our board, all of that. And of course, our staff. And so a lot of that gets publicized, gets published on our website. That's the best place to find what's going on and what we're doing. And for me, that's the most important work that I do now because my children are grown.
Is there anything big that's happening currently? Any events that are happening currently?
So yes, so in January we will have our Big Little Game Show, and this is one of the events that I initiated. It was kind of a brainchild of mine, and I told my team, I was like, okay, here's what I want to do. It's an event that's really focused on showing the impact of mentoring, of youth mentoring. And so it's a fun event, where basically we get matches competing against each other in fun games, like truly fun. Think of the game shows on TV.
Yeah.
Yep, we use their formats. We use their formats, but they're just competing and having a good time. But because they're doing it as a team, you get to see that interaction between adult and young person, and how both of them come alive, and just especially the how our littles will just come to life. And in that moment they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel respected, they feel valued, they feel confident. And that's what mentoring is about. And so that's the biggest event I can tell you that I really, really want people to pay attention to, that's coming up in January, because it's just it's the best of what we do. It's the best of what we do.
Is it going to be televised? Is it going to be like on YouTube live?
I think we are. Yes, we usually live stream it, so it should be live streamed, usually on Facebook. I think Facebook or Instagram, but we'll make sure that we get publication out. But the promotion for that is going to be coming out here very soon. So we want people to support it. Absolutely want people to support it. So that was that part of it. And then as far as connecting with me or watching me, LinkedIn is the best way. I don't post on Facebook. I have a Facebook account. I'll go out to Instagram on occasion, but that's mainly because of Big Brothers Big Sisters usually post a lot of things out in Instagram. But LinkedIn is really the best place to stay in touch and see me. I will connect through that way. You can only imagine. Well, look how long it took me to get set up to come, to be like, yes, Larry, come on, let's have this conversation. That's just how my inbox looks right now. So yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised. I'm like, all right, rock and roll.
I did not forget. It's just a matter of getting to that mile-long list. I'm like, whoo, I got to get back to this brother.
No, I was so happy. I was so happy. So happy I saw you randomly. I was so happy that you were able to come through. So I really appreciate it.
Yes.
Amazing story. This is a wonderful moment for me personally. I love seeing strong Black women. I come from that lineage, so it is just wonderful to see the narrative of strong Black women for sure.
Well, thank you so very much, and thank you for allowing me to come into your space on your platform, to spread, just spread the importance of youth mentoring and how it can, have a huge impact.
Yeah. So for those that are listening to this, please watch what she's doing. I'm looking at it. I'm seeing an all-star just knocking out the ballpark. And so definitely someone worth watching out there in the community. So appreciate you, Bridget. We'll talk to you.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm going to end the stream right now.